Welcome back to Working Title, The Emerald Knight, Part 3. So, I'll start off by talking about the continuation of where we left off, or where I left off. As I said last time, I was stuck. I didn't know where to turn next. Before I sat down to write this session of the book, I gave it some thought, and because the objective was to get them out of the town somewhere or other. And initially I thought, I thought of the chapel, and initially I thought, well, the chapel is probably taller than most of the other buildings, right? So maybe they could get on top of the chapel and run run on the rooftops to get out of the city, or the village. And I was like, I I thought it would be interesting to see, a fire. I want to see these characters run through fire. But the closer and closer I got to that point, it felt more and more ridiculous. So we'll get to that part later. But I went kind of the opposite route with that. So one thing I wanted to touch on right here, in this moment where Aranthus is basically stuck in the middle of the town square, and is, she sees all this fire around the town. I mean, she grew up here, seeing all this fire burn down her life, really. I thought that showing her enraged, having this moment of rage, would be pretty interesting and perhaps unexpected, because instead of having her just fall straight into sorrow or fear, or there is fear, but just this rage takes over for a moment. And it can be something to use potentially later on, as we progress through the story. Related to that, I would like I'll say that all these other characters, such as Aranthus's father, her mother, brother, everybody, anybody who's not her, are pretty bland. But because I'm so focused on events, what's happening, what's going to happen next, how can I get these characters, or this character in particular, to the place where I want them to end up, especially when it comes to running into the other main character of the story. And I really wanted to get to that main character this session, but it just didn't happen. And I really hope that I do next time, because I just want to see him. I want to see him in action. Anyway, so yeah, like, all these other characters seem pretty bland. An effect of like jumping straight into the action without any build up to it, and not getting to know these characters beforehand, can do that. It's not like it can't work that way, but with the way I have it, I just don't think, I mean, again, it's the rough draft, but as it is right now, it's just not quite there. I don't feel like it is. And here and there, I'm trying to insert characterization as I can as I go along. But again, I'm more focused on events and trying to progress. This chapel, I'm using the word chapel because I'm not entirely sure what the proper term for this building, this religious building, would be. I didn't want to use church, and chapel was the only other word that came to my mind. Synagogue, communion, I don't know. But chapel is just kind of a placeholder for now. And I wanted to describe the outside of the chapel more, even the inside, because there's a detail, there's a pretty interesting detail in that this place doesn't have pews. But a detail like that, it's like Aranthis grew up in this town, and this is her culture, and with all this action going on, especially, why would she, even though it's in the third person, why would she focus on the detail that there are no pews? Because again, like, this is her town and this is what she grew up with, this is what she's used to. She's not gonna really take note of that, especially in a fight or flight situation. And plus, she may not even have experienced other religious buildings like this. But like, as much as I wanted to include that, I thought maybe, okay, later on in the story, I mean, kind of spoilers, but I'm not gonna have Aranthis die. She's gonna escape. But at some point, she can probably come across another dark elf village or city or whatever, and the other character that is with her, we can touch on those sorts of details later on when the action is slowed down, you know what I mean? But including that here just didn't feel right, the whole, like, motif of, like, the fire and the smog that started back with her rage moment. I thought, and using that, like, throughout this session here, just I like that. I thought it was very good. This chapel, as I'm using, as I'm calling it for right now, it's made of wood, and there are these like metal altars around, like, the perimeter on the inside. Also, like, at the front of it, there's like a, opposing the entrance is a big statue of a knight. And there are these other altars around the room, which is something to touch on later, but I don't know, I want to talk about it right now. Like, these other altars are like, they can either have constellations on them, or like other gods, maybe. I'm not entirely sure right now, but again, it wasn't a detail that seemed like it was worth noting. I mean, maybe it could have, you know, as things are going to hell, and maybe Aranthus takes note of these altars and the gods and whatever, but I didn't think about it at the time. Here's another smog motif thing. I don't know if motif is the right word to describe that, but I'm going to use it. I also keep forgetting about magic. Like, I know magic stuff is going on right now, but the magic is happening from the enemy's side. And though there wouldn't necessarily be like all-out magic warfare, I mean, just having our side, the side that we're following, use a little magic here and there. Like, probably not everybody is a magic user or is very adept at it, but you know, it could have made for a little something of more interest to happen as we're trying to escape, you know. But there hasn't quite been so much opportunity to use magic, especially with such a large opposing force bearing down on our group here. Yeah, so like I said, the whole escaping through the rooftops wouldn't have made sense. It would be... I mean, I guess I could have had it happen. Like, if they had no other choice, like, it would make sense, but from where I'm sitting, it's like, that would be a lot of chaos to try and communicate through the written word. A lot of chaos to try and control, you know? And, I mean, it'd be really disorganized from their standpoint, because it's like, maybe there's old people with them and they got bad hips or something, and having to carry children, like, that'd be really... I feel like that would end up being really sloppy. So, on top of being ridiculous, I feel like it would be really sloppy, so I just got rid of it entirely. And something to note here, when they're being surrounded by these by the enemy here, I thought maybe a little more magic could be implemented here. Maybe they could have like drug Aranthus out of the hole like magically, and maybe they have all the townspeople bound, like they got magic handcuffs on or something. You know what I mean? It would probably make things a little more a little more clean, maybe. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm coming up onto the end. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.